Hello everyone, welcome to Lukmaan IAS. Today we are going to have the Hindu newspaper analysis dated 13th of October 2022. Today we are going to look into those articles that are most important for from the newspaper. So let us quickly look into those articles that we are going to take for discussion. Okay, so like I have listed those articles in one single PPT, so we are going to discuss these articles in detail. The first article is about winter is coming. Okay, winter is coming. We are going to understand about this article. It is about economy, like we can connect it with Indian economy and the world economy at large, because recently the International Monetary Fund has released a report, and in this article we are going to talk about that particular report, and we are going to discuss about what this report talks about, growth prospects of Indian economy. Okay, so this is a very important topic, and after this we are going to discuss about the next topic, and this topic is related to the Chola Empire. So we are going to talk about like how big was the Chola Empire, what were the important places that were built during the Chola Empire, and we are also going to talk about those rulers who have ruled and expanded the Chola Empire. This article is important under GS paper 1 of history section, okay, and it is important for prelims as well as for the mains exam. After this we are going to take another topic. It says we need a forest-led COP27. Okay, COP stands for Conference of Parties. So Conference of Parties are environmental conferences where multiple jurisdictions, like people and stakeholders from different countries, right, they participate, they discuss and deliberate upon like future plans to safeguard the environment. And in this article we are going to talk about the COP27, and we are going to discuss like why COP27 should be a forest-led initiative. Okay, so this is an important topic for GS paper 3 under environment and ecology section. Okay, GS paper 3 of the mains exam. With this we are going to talk about another issue. It says dangerous spiral. Okay, dangerous spiral is related to international relations. In this article we are going to discuss about the conflict that is happening between Ukraine and Russia, and we are going to talk about like in which direction this particular conflict is heading towards, and what are the way forward through which like we can minimize or reduce the conflict, right? And we are also going to talk about like what are the repercussions of the ongoing conflict for the world at large. Okay, so this topic is important for under international relations for GS paper 2 of mains exam. So we are going to discuss all these topics one by one. Okay, so let's take the first topic for discussion today. It says winter is coming. Okay, India's growth impulse is slowing. The IMF warns worst is yet to come. Okay, so when we talk about International Monetary Fund is an international organization. Okay, it is not only an international organization, but it is also an intergovernmental organization. Okay, only governments of different countries are part of it. It means like different countries are part of this particular organization. The International Monetary Fund is one of the big multinational financial institutions. Along with International Monetary Fund, we also have a similar body, which is the World Bank. Okay, so International Monetary Fund is associated with the United Nations organization in some or other way. Okay, so this particular organization comes up with a report, and name of this report is World Economic Outlook report. Okay, this is World Economic Outlook. So World Economic Outlook is a publication of International Monetary Fund. This is a very important information for the prelims exam, because many a times UPSC asks like this particular report is released by which of the following organization. Okay, so you need to understand the name of the report. Okay, World Economic Outlook. This report is released by the International Monetary Fund, and under this report they have given an outlook, they have given a forecast related to the economy around the world. Okay, so it has forecasted about the growth prospects of Indian economy and also many other economies in the world. Okay, so according to the World Economic Outlook, the International Monetary Fund has said under this report that like the worst, I mean like this situation is going to get worsen, okay. Yet means at this point of time we are not at the worst situation. The worst is yet to come, and it has forecasted that like a recessionary situation may soon arise, okay. Like we may soon see or witness a situation when where the economies around the world are growing at a very lesser pace, okay. It has revised the growth prospect for India as well. Earlier like it was said that Indian economy is going to grow at 6.8%, but the revised figure talks about that Indian economy is going to grow at 6.1%, which is much lower, right, than the previous estimate, okay. What is leading to I mean like such slowdown in growth for Indian economy and many other economies around the world? There are multiple factors for it. What are those factors? One of the factor is the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, okay. Because of this particular issue, the sentiment, I mean like sentiment of the investors, sentiment of the people are not very stable, right. They are not willing to invest in different jurisdictions because like people are fearing an imminent third world war. And if a third world war happens, in that case there will be like limitations on resources. There can be danger of nuclear war around the world. So that's why I mean like people are fearing, investors are fearing for investing abroad, for investing outside their jurisdiction. And at the same time governments are also very, I mean like they are also thinking somewhere, I mean like not to indulge in any kind of conflict, okay. So this conflict is one part. Apart from this, like many countries around the world are trying to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic created situation. I mean like COVID-19 pandemic has created a very, I mean like difficult situation for the economies, right. Many economies have faced hurdles, hardships, right. Many of the sectors were not working at that time. So like we, like the Indian economy and many other economies are still trying to recover, from the pre-COVID situation. So as of now, this report has forecasted that like worst, I mean like bad situation are yet to come, okay. So that's why it is very important that like we take those steps that are good for Indian economy and avoid any kind of indulging ourselves into conflict type situation. So here like the IMF has given a road ahead, means like it has said that lingering Russia-Ukraine conflict, a slowdown in China, and what IMF has eloquently termed a cost of living crisis. So IMF has mentioned about cost of living crisis, means like the world may move towards I mean like creating more poor people, because like people are now facing difficulty in managing the cost of living things. So that's why they have termed cost of living crisis, okay. So this topic is related to economy and like we can connect it with the external sector of Indian economy, okay. So here we talked about one major important international financial institution, which is the International Monetary Fund, okay. It is the International Monetary Fund. This is a very important institution. Earlier the World Bank has also assessed, right, they have also assessed that like India may grow at around 6.5%, right, but International Monetary Fund has given a lesser estimate for this, okay. So like if we talk about the Reserve Bank of India is trying all possible measures, taking all possible measures to make our financial institutions stronger, to avoid any collapse of any bank, right. And at the same time, those banks which are at the verge of collapse, Reserve Bank of India is trying its level best so that like those even if the banks collapse, it should not have a spillover effect, so that like the financial institutions in India should remain stable, okay. So that's about this particular topic. So you can read this topic to understand more, okay. With this we will take another topic, okay. So that topic is related to GS paper 1. So in this article we will talk about the Chola Empire, okay, Chola. So like Cholas were ruling in the southern portion of India, which is also known as peninsular India, okay. So like so if you see the map of India, this is the southern portion of India and this is the peninsular India. Peninsular means like where three sides are surrounded by water, means like if we talk about this side, if we talk about this side, if we talk about this side, all the three sides are surrounded by water. So that's why it is named as peninsular India, right. So in the peninsular India we had the Chola Empire, and Chola Empire was one of the mightiest empire of that time, of its own time. And this Chola Empire has expanded from one region to another. Like there was a time also in history where the Chola Empire not only they not only ruled over here, they have also ruled, right, in other jurisdiction, in other countries. I mean like that has expanded from here to the eastern portion, southern portion as well, okay. They were not only limited to this area, they have also ruled, I mean like in like foreign places, okay. They have had their influence, right, around the world from here itself, right. So in this article we are going to talk about the importance of the Chola Empire. We are going to talk about important art and architecture, means like important temples that are still in that are still present from the Chola Empire, that belongs to the Chola Empire. We are going to talk about important publications, important books that talks about the grandeur. Grandeur means the magnificence of the Chola Empire, right. In this article basically the author has highlighted the importance of Chola Empire. The author has also mentioned like why, I mean like the recent history books are failing to failing to like give the due importance to the Chola Empire, which had huge impact in the ancient history, right. So author has pointed out, author has written names of those history books that talks about different aspects of the Chola Empire, okay. So in this article the author has mentioned about archaeological discoveries of Chola Empire, the important books, important authors and the important thematic areas related to the Chola Empire, okay. So let us begin the discussion. So now if we talk about Chola Empire, so this is the region in the peninsular India that was ruled by the Cholas, okay. So you might be knowing, like if you read ancient history, right, in ancient history that there were three major like empires. One was of Cholas, which is known as Chola Empire. Then second one was Cheras. Then third was Pandyas, okay. Chola Empire, Chera Empire and Pandyas. So these yeah, Pallavas, right. Pallavas were also there. Chola, Chera, Pandya, Pallava. So these were like many empires that were ruling in like one or other portion of the southern India, right. So in this article we are talking about the Chola Empire itself. So we will learn about those rulers, we will learn name of those rulers who have ruled under in the Chola Empire, and we will talk about those places that are associated with Chola Empire, okay. So these information are going to be very helpful for the prelims exam, very helpful, okay. So let's take the discussion further, okay. So here like in this article the author has mentioned that like there were many ancient Tamil kingdoms such as Cholas, but some of these kingdoms are not being mentioned in the recent history books, and it is important that these kingdoms should be given due importance in their history, right, in their historical text. So that's why the author has mentioned about those historical books, those history books, right, that have been recently compiled, that have been compiled before independence as well, and that talks about the importance of the Chola Empire, all right. So now the author says when monumental eras like the Cholas are missing from the pages of history, the best option to more about the ancient civilization is to read from the available literature that talk of the valor and conquest of these kings of yore, their trade links and wealth, styles of administration, art and architecture, and cuisine and skills of their period. Okay, so now the author is trying to, you know, give importance to the Chola Empire. Why? Because author is of the opinion that Chola Empire is not getting the due importance in the new history books, in recent history books. So that's why the author is suggesting that, like, you know, we should go and read those literatures that are available, you know, for these sources. Okay, so one of the literature, so here the author has talked about an exhaustive collection, like, you know, one of the like account that was written, it is known as the Cholas, spelt the Cholas by Professor K.A. Nilakanta Shastri. So he has also mentioned about, like, you know, what this particular book talks about. Okay, this account of the social, political and cultural history of the Chola dynasty from 850 to 1279 AD. So this was the time period. Okay, AD and BC you might be knowing. Okay, AD is the time, AD stands for Anno Domini. AD stands for Anno Domini. It means Anno Domini is, like, you know, like in the year of Christ, means, like, you know, during the, like, ages of Jesus. I mean, like, you know, after Jesus was born. So this is the thing. I mean, like, we are following which calendar? The Christian calendar system. Like, if we talk about AD BC system, so this system is related to Christian calendar system, right? We have different type of calendar system. We have Christian calendar system, we have English calendar system, then we have our own calendar system. Okay, Vikram Sambat, we have that thing also. So here, like, you know, the time period that is mentioned over here by the author is that the, like, you know, this particular author K.A. Nilakanta Shastri, okay, he has written this account which is known as the Cholas, spelled the Cholas. Okay, so in this particular book or in this particular publication, he has talked about the social, political and cultural history of the Chola dynasty from 850 AD to 1279 AD, from Vijayalaya Aditya I to Rajinder II. Okay, so now you need to check. Okay, because, like, we are talking about you know, we are talking about the ancient history part. Okay, we are talking about ancient history part. So it is very important that that you understand about the time period in which Cholas have ruled. You understand about the geographical location, and you also understand about those rulers who have ruled like in this particular, you know, period. Okay, so it is considered, this particular book, the Cholas, okay, is considered a pioneering work in South Indian history. Okay, this particular work by this author is considered to be one of the most pioneering work. Pioneering means something that was done for the first time, right? Means, like, you know, so this is one thing. A new area. Okay, pioneering means new area where a new thing is being done. And apart from this, right, the first edition of the book was published in 2 volumes. So it says the first volume was published in 1935, second was 1937. And even after decades, the book remains in demand given the fabulous narrative of the, like, Cholan Empire. So this spelling seems to be incorrect, okay, in the article of the Cholan Empire. So, like, this is one of the book that, like, you know, that talks about the Cholan Empire. So archaeological, like, you know, apart from this, the Tamil Sangam literature such as Pattina Pallai and then Purananuru. Okay, so these are Tamil Sangam literature. Okay, Pattina Pallai and Purananuru. Okay, bought to print by U.B. Swaminathan Iyer. He bases his research on inscription from Archaeological Survey of India, the Mahavamsas, which tells the history of the Sri Lanka. Okay, so now from here what we understand that the author, this particular author of this article, is talking about other authors who have published books related to Cholan Empire, right? And the author has not only given the name of the book but also cited the importance of the book, the area in which, you know, like, these books, I mean, like, these books actually talk about. Okay, apart from this, the author has mentioned volume 1 contains history of the Cholas from Karikalan to Koluthunga, you know, 3. Means that these names are important. You can write these names somewhere in your notebook, so that, like, you know, if you hear these names, you can recall that these names are, names of the rulers who have ruled in the Chola Empire, right? So this is important. Apart from this, he has also talked about other other accounts such as Nagapattinam to Suvarna Dwipa. It was compiled. This is also another account. Account means like book. Okay, it was compiled by Herman Kulke in 2009, and it has a lot of historical research on naval power and expeditions of Chola kings. Okay. Apart from this, art historian, this particular person, Sivara Mamurthy, has chronicled the architecture of the period. Okay, so this author, okay, this author that like I am highlighting, he has also chronicled means he has written in a chronological order, right, based on timing, the Chola temples. Okay, he has talked about the Chola temples, the Thanjavur temple, Gangaikonda Cholapuram and Dharasuram. Okay, so these were, like, if we talk about these names, Thanjavur, Gangaikonda Cholapuram and Dharasuram. Okay, so these are the Chola temples. Okay, these are the places where Chola temples are located. And in the beginning of the lecture, right, so I have shown you an image. That image also belongs to a Chola temple. Okay, that image is represents a Chola temple. Apart from this, Japanese historian Noboru Karashimasa written insightful volumes on the Cholas' economic, social and administrative prowess. I mean, like, even a Japanese author has written about the economic, political and social progress. Progress means the magnificence, the the grandeur of the Chola Empire. So the names that I have highlighted over here, okay, the names that I have highlighted, they are most important. You need to learn these names. Okay. Then early Cholas is also another account. History, art and culture. Okay, so early Chola history, art and culture. The highlighted portion over here, this is also a book, an account. Okay, it was written by Dr. Swaminathan. Okay, Dr. S. Swaminathan. It gives a good account of the period from 850 AD to 970 AD. That forms an important epoch in the history of Tamil Nadu. This book is about how early Chola rulers started from scratch and went on to establish a vast empire by their conquest, and are best remembered for their contribution to rules relating to the mode of local administration and imprints on art, architecture and sculpture. Okay, so the highlighted portion is the name of a book, is the name of an account that was written. Okay, that was written by this author, Dr. S. Swaminathan. Okay, and he gives an account about, I mean, like, art, architecture and sculpture. So art, architecture and sculpture is another area of investigation, another area of research where the author has written. Earlier also we have talked about, like, in Chola Empire, the thing is, like, for the Chola Empire, other people have investigated, they have researched on economic, social and political prowess. But in this case, like, early Cholas history, art and culture, this talks about art, culture and sculpture of the Chola Empire. Apart from this, S.R. Balasubramaniaman, okay, he has published a series of books, means like this author has published many books that are related to the Chola Empire. And these are the early Chola art, 1966, early Chola temples, 1971, middle Chola temples, 1977, later Chola temples, 1979. Okay, the same author has published multiple books, a series of books, right, from time to time. Why? Because this particular person was doing research related to Chola temples. Okay, these books were published, and these books talks about those places where Chola temples are located, and it also talks about the importance of the Chola temples, and it talks about the architecture, like what kind of architecture is being followed in the Chola temples. Since Chola temples are located in southern portion of India, so the thing is there, like, we find Dravidian style of temple construction. Okay, so we have Dravidian style of temple architecture in the Chola Empire. Apart from this, like, if we talk about the southern India under the Cholas, This is another book, the highlighted portion, okay. It talks about in southern India under the Cholas, and it was published in 2012. Like this particular person provides a roundup of the known history and features of the Chola dynasty, okay. So now here we need to understand, like many people have been doing research about different historical aspects related to Chola Empire. Why we are talking about only Chola Empire? Because this article is related to Chola Empire. But the thing is, apart from Cholas, Cheras were there, Pandyas were there, Pallavas were there, right? So they have also ruled in different areas, like in southern India. So like we find multiple accounts related to that as well. Multiple accounts mean multiple books may be there, and like they talk about different features. And if you want to learn about art and architecture, you can go and read the fine arts book of 11th standard, okay, NCERT book, fine arts 11th standard. So that will give you a detailed like explanation related to different forms of art and architecture, okay. So with this now the author is saying that like not only these accounts are there, apart from this the search is still on. It means like there are multiple other researchers who are doing research, who are still doing research to learn more about the Chola Empire, to learn more about administration of the Chola Empire. And if we talk about like there were many like Chola rulers, Raja Chola, Rajinder Chola. You might have heard about their names while reading the ancient history books, right? Raja Chola was again a very like important personality. Then we had Rajendra Chola, okay. So they were like some of the prominent rulers under the Chola Empire, and there are stories associated with, I mean like there are stories associated with Chola Empire. If you read the ancient history books, you will understand about those things as well, okay. So with this, like we will move to the next article. But like what is the takeaway from this article? The takeaway is like we need to understand what is the geographical location of the Chola Empire. We need to understand about like the names of those rulers who have ruled in the Chola Empire, and also like we need to learn about the architecture, right? What type of architecture, art and architecture Cholas had. Apart from this, like we also need to compare, right? Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas and Pallavas, okay, we need to compare them also. Like what was their geographical extent, which rulers ruled them, what is the time period in which they have ruled. You all already know about AD and BC system, okay. AD means Anno Domini, in the year of Christ means after the birth of Christ, right. So here like if we talk about Chola Empire, so Chola Empire started, I mean like from the scratch in 850 AD, and after then like they kept on like increasing their empire, like expanding their empire by annexation of different territories. And by the end, like by 1287, I guess, they have like reached to their zenith. Zenith means like to their highest stature, right. So this is about the Chola Empire. Now with this we will take another topic, and this topic is yet another very important topic from today's newspaper. Okay, why this is a very important topic? Because we are going to discuss about COP27. COP stands for Conference of Parties, okay, it stands for Conference of Parties. So this is the conference related to environment and ecology, aspects. Here like the concerned parties can be from the government, they can be representative from the non-governmental organization, they can be people from civil societies, they can be I mean like in this particular conference there can be association, there can be I mean like participation from the companies also, okay. So like multiple stakeholders are coming together to discuss about one of the most important aspect of our planet, safeguarding the environment and ecology. So like here now, since the upcoming COP is going to be held very soon, so that's why people started thinking about what should be the theme, right? What should be the theme of the upcoming Conference of Parties. So like this article, in this article the author has talked about that like we need a forest-led COP. What is forest-led COP? Means like we should have a COP, we should have a Conference of Party where the discussion should be in and around forest related aspects, right? Why forest is an important component, like for discussion, because like forests are something that are acting as a huge carbon sink. Okay, it is huge carbon sink. Forests are consuming huge amount of carbon dioxide. It is, I mean, like eliminating huge amount of greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. Okay, so that's why forests are important. And forests are not only important for the because like it is a carbon sink. It is also important because like forest has a huge biodiversity, right? It has a huge biodiversity. It has a huge plant diversity. It has a huge animal diversity. So like we find huge number of plants, animals, the natural resources in the forest. So that's why it is important for us to safeguard the forest resources. So that's why the author is talking that like we need to have a forest led conference of parties. Okay, so we will discuss about this article. Okay, so what is this? The image that you can see, rhinoceros. So like where do we find the maximum number of rhinoceros in India? Kaziranga National Park. Where is it located? Assam, right? So like here only in Kaziranga National Park we have more than 2/3 of the one-horned rhinoceros in the world. Okay, more than 2/3 one-horned rhinoceros. So like we have like two-horned rhinoceros also, one-horned rhinoceros as well. And so like what you need to understand, like from this picture itself will give you a lot of information. You need to find out what is the IUCN status of rhinoceros. Okay, this is just for information, but like after this lecture you need to understand, like search what is the IUCN status, like under which category does like it is mentioned. Okay, so it may be mentioned in one of the categories, like it can be vulnerable, it can be endangered, it can be critically endangered, right? Like that. So you need to understand about this, and you need to note it down in your notebook so that like you remember this information, right? So recently what has happened in September, a study was published. A study was published and it was published in the journal Science. Science is considered to be one of the most authoritative, authentic journals related to environment and ecology, like areas. So in the Science journal they have mentioned that Earth may have already passed through 5 dangerous tipping points due to the 1.1 degree centigrade of global heating caused by humanity to date. Okay. So in this Science journal they have mentioned that Earth has already passed through 5 dangerous tipping points. Dangerous tipping points means at this point, like beyond this point the Earth may have had huge extinction. So we like if we talk about the historical past of the Earth, historical past means if we talk about the geology related to Earth, the evolution, and there have been different phases of extinction also. Okay, there have been times when all the plants, animals, everything were completely wiped out. Okay, there were mass extinction in the Earth, but now the world is again heading towards a similar kind of catastrophe where like majority of the species are getting extinct day by day. I mean like if you read different reports, you will come across that many species are getting wiped out from time to time. So this particular journal that was published, this study calls for developing and transforming technologies to support action on climate change have become louder worldwide. Okay, so here the author is saying that like we need to adopt those technologies that are environment friendly, that are not harming the environment anymore. Okay, we need to adapt those technologies. We need to build new and renewable sources of energy, right? We already have renewable sources of energy, and like we need to, I mean like like do away with the fossil fuel based, I mean like energy sources. For example, coal, petroleum, etc. We need to, I mean like we need to get away with them. Why? Because we need to go for alternatives, the renewable sources of energy, new forms of energy. You might have heard about like like we have different new forms of energy, like some of the energy are derived from geothermal. Okay, geothermal energy we have. Then we have, I mean, like, you know, like from the stone, shale gas, like, you know, we are extracting shale gas. Then we have PNG, natural gas, etc. So these are, you know, alternative forms of energy that are being developed. I mean, like, still a lot of research are happening around the world, right? Why? Because we are trying to move towards new and alternative forms of energy, so that like we can safeguard the planet Earth, right? So this is the thing. So with this, now let us talk about another thing. So it is saying that history is on the side of technological innovation. Norman Borlaug, for instance, ushered the green revolution. Okay, so green revolution for the first time in the world was started by a person. His name is Norman Borlaug. Okay, Norman Borlaug has, like, you know, come up with the concept green revolution, and after then green revolution as a revolution has started, right? In India also, like, we had a phase of green revolution, right? That was started by like one of the Indian persons itself, right? And that green revolution had huge impact. It has huge positive impact. Why? Because, like, you know, under the green revolution we have learned how to maximize the productivity in the same field, how to like, you know, so under green revolution we have come up with different forms of urea, etc. It has led to huge productivity, but like it had some negative aspects also associated with this. When we talk about green revolution, like, you know, it was related to increasing the productivity of the agricultural you know, output, like agricultural thing. But the thing is, it was backed by different types of fertilizers. We started using huge amount of fertilizer, but like we have seen repercussions also related to this. They like, you know, water table was decreasing day by day. Then, like, you know, fields were, I mean, like, you know, losing their capacity, regenerative capacity. So lot of things happened, right? And that time we have started using hybrid seeds, like, you know, we used to have different kinds of seeds, but like people are now moving towards organic food, right? So the phase of green revolution has you know, transformed. Now we are moving towards organic food thing. So if we talk about, you know, like the author's viewpoint, author is saying that like now people have technological, you know, optimism. What do we mean by technological optimism? People are seeing technology as an alternative. Okay, people are seeing technology as an alternative for many things. Okay, but the thing is, here the author is saying that technology can not be the substitute for the environment. What? Technology cannot be a substitute for the environment, for the you know, forest, for the climate, you know, thing. Technology can only help us in adopting different forms, so that like we can avoid, I mean, like, you know, devastating the environment. So here the author is talking about, you know, any electricity. Any electricity means non-emitting electricity. Okay, non-emitting electricity means you are generating electricity, but it is not emitting greenhouse gases. Okay, so that's why this term, this is a new term, right? Any electricity, non-emitting electricity generated by hydropower, renewables, or nuclear fission. Okay, so here the author is also talking about that, like, you know, we should have carbon capture and storage. Okay, why do we need to capture carbon? So that like we can reduce the global you know, greenhouse gases from the environment. Okay, so for carbon capture and storage, we have forest as one of the best. Forest is one of the best carbon sink. Carbon sink means that it stores carbon dioxide. They utilize carbon dioxide, right? Like we as human, we take oxygen, we release carbon dioxide. Many animals do the same thing. But if we talk about plants, they intake what? Carbon dioxide, and they release oxygen. So we need to have more and more forest, okay, so that like they can take up carbon dioxide, they can take up greenhouse gases, they can act as sink of, you know, greenhouse gases, sink for, you know, like global warming gases, like that. And here the author is saying that we currently have a 4,000 watt hour per day of electricity per person. Electricity, you already know, non-emitting electricity. Okay, non-emitting electricity. So at COP26 in Glasgow, COP26 means conference of party 26 means like that particular conference has happened for the 26th time in Glasgow. It keeps on happening at different locations, and these conferences are ushered by United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. It is known as UNFCCC. It is known as United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. This is led by this thing. So now, what is the viewpoint of the author? Author is saying that we need to simply move towards more greener world, because technology cannot be a substitute for the forest that we have. Forests are the basic thing, but at the same time the author is saying that there will be a time that the world would need a nuclear plants worth of clean energy capacity every day between 2000 and 2050 to avoid catastrophic climate change. Okay, this is the thing. Then we need to have tech-centric mitigation conversations. Okay, tech-centric mitigation conversation means we need to have those kind of conversations. Conversations means like when people talk about there should be a movement, right? There should be a movement. You might have recently heard about Greta Thunberg, a very small girl, right? Her name is Greta Thunberg. You might have heard about name of this girl, young school going girl, Greta Thunberg. And this was the girl who has dropped out of school, who has come out of school. Why? For the sake of safeguarding the environment, for the sake of raising her voice to the world leaders. She wanted to raise her voice to the world leaders. She wanted to bring this notion into the mind of the world leaders that this is the right time that we need to look ahead for protecting our environment. She said that this is the right time that we should think about protecting our environment at any cost. Okay, she said that climate emergency must be declared. Okay, Greta Thunberg, she said climate emergency, okay, must be declared, that we are in a situation of emergency related to climate. Okay, she said we are in a stage of emergency related to climate, Greta Thunberg. So Greta Thunberg, being so young, she was understanding what is the importance of safeguarding our environment. Why the world leaders are not understanding this importance? Why the world leaders are reluctant? They are reluctant to discuss about it, to deliberate upon it. So here the author is saying that we should have a forest-led COP, a conference of party where all the stakeholders, majority of the stakeholders, powerful people, they should talk about importance of the forest. They should come up with newer solutions so that we can safeguard the forest resources in the world. And at the same time, we should do away with the fossil fuels. Okay, we should do away with the fossil fuels. We should adopt new and renewable forms of energy. We should adopt nuclear energy as well, okay, nuclear power, so that we no longer need any fossil fuels, because fossil fuels have a tendency of increasing the global warming by releasing different forms of gases. Okay, so this is the thing. Apart from this, here, while there was there was the deforestation ending climate commitment at COP26, the nature of the pledge was vague. So here the author is also talking about that in conference of party 26, in the previous conference, people have taken pledge, but the pledges that were taking, they were vague. They were not actionable. People have taken pledge. They have committed that we are going to do this thing, that thing. But they did not live up to their promises. They made promises, but they did not live up to their promises. So here the author is highlighting that this is the right time, that we should focus on safeguarding our planet. We should focus on increasing the forest resources. And if we talk about importance of environment, in India also, we have an organization. It is known as Forest Survey of India, right? Forest Survey of India also comes up with a report, right? It comes up with a report which is known as like, like a state of forest. Yeah. Right, it comes up with the Forest Survey of India comes up with a forest report once every 2 years. After every 2 years, it comes up with a forest report. So that is also a very good report. It talks about like what is the status of forest in India, like what is the forest coverage, right? It also categorizes different forests, like we have dense forest, I mean very dense forest, like that. Okay, so recently that report has come. So you can read that report to understand about the status of forest coverage in India and the status of forest coverage in different states. And like it also mentions about like large states with forest coverage, then small states with forest coverage, and some of the northeastern states have the highest forest coverage there. Okay, so that's an important part. Here the author is saying that our climate crisis is intertwined with each other complex issues. This means we must insist on multi-pronged interconnected climate solutions. Forests shine here too. Okay, so now the author is saying that forests, which are home to 80% of terrestrial wildlife, forests are home to 80% of the terrestrial wildlife, are at this intersection. Okay, so this is an important aspect. Apart from this, the author has said that forests absorb a net of 7.6 billion metric tons of CO2 per year. This much billion metric tons of CO2 is being absorbed by the forest. So forest has huge importance, it has huge environmental importance, right? And then a new study has found that their biophysical aspects have a tendency to cool the earth by an additional 0.5%. If we have more forest, the forest have a tendency to cool down the earth. The earth is getting warmer day by day, we all know, but forest has a tendency to cool down the earth. If we have more forest, they will have the cooling effect more. Okay, so like we will be able to reverse the climate change, right? So the conservation of forest along with other nature based solutions can provide up to 37% of the emission reductions needed to tackle climate change. The Das Gupta review, independent review on the economics of biodiversity, reports that green infrastructure are 2 to 5 times cheaper than grey infrastructure. Okay, so this is the thing. Apart from this, like the author has also mentioned about various other reports, like the IPCC has a land report. IPCC stands for Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Okay, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change is a panel, it's a body that is, its members are different governments of the world. Okay, it has come up with a land report and it estimates that land reserves as a large CO2 sink. Okay, so land serves as the large CO2 sinks. Land means like the land, bare land. It also acts as a carbon dioxide sink. Okay, apart from forests act as sink, land also act as sink. But like what kind of infrastructure do we have around the world? As of now, most of the infrastructure is being grade. Grade means these are concreted. Okay, if you see any major metropolitan city, the roads, the houses, everything is like made out of construction. So like we barely find any bare land for any kind of carbon sink purpose. So that's why the author is saying that like we need to move back to the natural way of living. We need to grow more trees, we need to expand the forest cover, right? So there is a growing body of evidence that a large proportion of the required removals could be achieved by conserving natural sinks, improving biodiversity protection and restoring ecosystems. Okay, so we need to think of restoring our ecosystem. Okay, how we can restore ecosystem? By not allowing the trees to be cut, right? By not allowing deforestation to happen, by using the natural ways of living, right? So this is the thing. And we need to realize that climate crisis is just a symptom. This is a very important line. After reading the whole article, I have found this line to be the most important and eye-opening line. Okay, I will read this line for you. You can read this article yourself also at a later stage. Okay. So it says, we need to realize that the climate crisis is just a symptom, means the crisis that is happening in the climate, it is just a symptom, it is just an outcome. For example, like we are people, when we are healthy we are normal, but like when we are getting ill from within, so we get some kind of symptom like fever, nausea, etc., right? So here the author is saying that we need to realize that the climate crisis is just a symptom. Our real problem is that human consumption and activity have exceeded the regenerative capacity of our planet. Okay, human consumption and activity have surpassed the regenerative capacity of the planet. The planet has a capacity to regenerate the resources, but the thing is, need of the human being have surpassed that particular regenerative capacity of the planet. Okay, so the author is saying that technology at best can assist us, not lead us on the pathway to sustainable, regenerative and equitable world. Okay, so author is saying that technology can only assist us, it can only help us, okay, but like it cannot lead us to the regenerative, I mean like sustainable and equitable world. We only need to use technologies in those domains in which like it will be beneficial, right? But like we should not think technology as a substitute to the greener world. It cannot be an alternative to the greener world. It is just a means to reduce, right, to reduce the global warming effect through like different variety of ways, but at this same time we need to sustain those natural resources that are available. We need to go for regeneration, regenerative capacity, and we need to have a equitable world. Equitable means where resources are shared with everyone, not few people should have all the resources and others are left out of it. So we need to have a equitable world. Okay, so this is the thing. With this, like we will talk about another topic. This is the last topic for the day. This is also a very important article. It says dangerous spiral. Okay, it says dangerous spiral. So we will understand about this. The author is saying only a compromise through talks can end the hostilities in Ukraine. Okay, what is happening now in Ukraine? Like Ukraine is under pressure from Russia, right, to change its like president. Russia's only aim at this point of time seems that it wants to topple the established government from Ukraine, and it wants to establish its own person in the ruling capacity in Ukraine. But the thing is, the president of Ukraine is not willing to give up, right? He is there, he is standing with his country, he is standing with his people, right? And he is fighting back to Russia. So now what is happening? It has escalated the situation, it has created the situation worse, right? The situation has been lingering for a long time, but the thing is, here the author is saying that there should be talks, there should be dialogue, there should be negotiation between both the parties, right? There should be dialogue and negotiation between Ukraine and Russia, and that talk should be aided by compromise. Okay, both sides should have some position of compromise, so that Ukraine can think of compromising something, Russia can think of compromising on some point. Only then a peace can be established. Okay, once peace is established between these two countries, only then the situation will normalize. But the thing is, at this point of time, both the parties are seeming adamant, and both the parties are nuclear capable, and none of these parties have signed non-proliferation treaty. We have a nuclear non-proliferation treaty. So none of these two countries have signed nuclear non-proliferation treaty. What it means? They are not able to dismantle the nuclear. Right. Means like they are nuclear capable. They Russia is like a very big nuclear power. It can use its nuclear arsenal at any point of time. So it is creating a danger signal for the world. So that's why it is saying that dangerous spiral. Something a danger has started, and it has a spiraling effect around the world. Okay. So this is the thing. Now here the author is saying, like, recently what has happened, like one of the, President Volodymyr Zelensky's advisor, Mikhailo Podolyak, okay, what he has recently mentioned, some of the troops, some of the forces from Ukraine, they have attacked on Russia, some bridges on Russia, okay, they have attacked some Russian bridges, and they have, devastated that. And after devastating, they have, told on the news that this is just a beginning, and like we can do more harm to Russia. But Russia has retaliated. It has not only retaliated, like it has devastated, huge infrastructure, huge amount of infrastructure in Ukraine. So the thing is, the tension is escalating. It is, like getting bigger and bigger day by day. But the thing is, like author is suggesting that, the tension should be de-escalated. It should be normalized, and there should be talks. There should be, mediation. Okay, there should be mediation. I mean, like some party should come. They should mediate. Okay, they should, bring these two conflicting parties together so that they can negotiate on peace terms. And peace terms, like peace can only prevail if both the parties are agreeing to some, form of what? Compromise. Because compromise can only lead to, de-escalating the situation, reducing the tension from the region, right? So this is the thing. So here the author is talking about a recent happening that has happened, and author is saying that, this particular war, this particular conflict that is happening, it is Europe's most dangerous land war since the Second World War. Okay, this is the Europe's most dangerous land war after the Second World War. Okay, and even in 1962, when Soviet nuclear missile were in Cuba, so here the author has talked about Cuban missile crisis. Okay, if you read like world history books, you will come across a topic which is known as Cuban missile crisis. So what has happened then? I think in 1961 or 66, Russia has deployed huge number of warships, right, in Cuba, and right, and these, warships, like USSR at that point of time, Soviet Union was there. So USSR has deployed nuclear missiles in Cuba, and Cuba is very near geographically to United States of America. So Cuba is a very small country. Like if you talk about India and Maldives, right? India is a big, country with huge land size, right? And then Maldives is a very small portion. It's a kind of island nation, right? Similarly, Cuba is a kind of island nation. It is to the south of Americas, right? It is to the south of America, and Russia has deployed nuclear missiles in Cuba that time. Okay, Russia has deployed nuclear missiles in Cuba at that time. But what has happened now? The thing is, after then US has also, quarantined, okay, warships in the Caribbean, okay, in the Caribbean Sea, right? Means like from both the parties they have deployed their own arsenals, right? So, but the thing is, what has happened? At that point of time, right, Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, he was the president of the United States of America. Then Khrushchev, okay, he was the ruler of USSR, like Russia, like Soviet. They have talked to each other, they have exchanged letters, and they have negotiated, and later on the peace have been built, okay, peace had been brought in that particular region. Okay, they have exchanged letters, they have found out a solution to the missile crisis, and then that point of time the world was at the brink, means like a nuclear war was about to happen, but that was avoided because like both the parties have negotiated with one another, they have talked, they have exchanged letters, and a peace was brought about. But now that peace is not coming. You understanding that peace is not coming because none of the party is willing to compromise. That's the thing. So with this, like we have understood, all the articles one by one. Thank you so much everyone for attending today's lecture. I hope you have a good day ahead. Thank you.